Hello, and welcome to another episode of A Tonic for Lunacy. I'm your host, Donna. Today, we're going to talk about shadow in your human design chart and trauma, and I'm going to give you a little sample reading. You're either listening to this on the podcast or it's also on YouTube because I'm going to share a specific chart so I can give some examples. So, no matter how you're joining me today, welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay. The power of a human design shadow reading. I can't even begin to tell you how powerful this is. When I first learned about human design, I was like, whoa, this shit is cool. This shit is awesome. Like, look at all this power I have. Look at all my channels. Look at all of this definition. Like, I'm the bomb.com, right? But also, it always felt like there was something missing, right? Like my human design readings that I had in the beginning, of course, they told me about my not self, but it was all very like generalized, vague information that, we all get about human design. That's, the stuff we can Google. I did have an exceptional reading with this woman, Jackie. She's in, shout out to Jackie, interiorcreature.com, I believe. And she was able to give me more specific, like actual examples. And that's what I really needed. So I had human design over here in this place I go to it every once in a while. But then when I started doing all of my trauma work a few years ago and all of my really deep shadow work, I was like, you know what? Like, I still have this thing over here. Let me see how I can put it together. And here's why I did that. So, most of you know, and if you've listened to this show ever, you know that I have very limited memory of my childhood. However, I knew that I still had a lot of healing to do. I knew there was trauma. I knew that there were shadows lurking. I knew that there were things happening because I was in this like mode of constant suffering, of everything is difficult, of things not working out. Right. So I knew there was something else there. I just didn't know what. So what I did was I took this human design element, this human design tool that I had, and I started looking in the body graph to show me where and what needed to be resolved. I experimented with it, right? Hi, line 3. That's what we do. We experiment. And when I first started doing it, I really had no intention of sharing it with other people. It was just for me. Classic individual circuitry shit right there. But then I was like, oh, hold on, wait a minute. This stuff is fucking incredible. And it allowed me to open up in such a big way in my own life. So then I was like, you know what? There's more here. There's more that I haven't learned about human design. So I took this year-long program with a woman named Ashley Brianna Eve. You can find her online. She is an incredible human design teacher because she really teaches you from the beginning to the end. And it was a year-long program, big investment, fine, whatever. What I learned in that program was the nuances. And what I did was I took those nuances and I applied them to my shadow work and my trauma work. So the stuff that I teach and the stuff that we talk about, yes, there are some basic human design elements to it because, the foundation is where it's at. But there are so many different nuances that are really the power, that they are like the key, right? The key to the secret door of your subconscious mind, if you will. And that's really, really, really what it's all about. And I teach you all of these nuances, especially with that shadow trauma view perspective in the human design shadow training program that I run. Okay. That is kind of like the background, right? What you need to know. How I used human design to heal trauma, to do shadow work, and create a framework so that other people can do it because the results are truly mind blowing. So, what I want to do now, for those of you that are on YouTube, watching this on YouTube, excuse me, is share a chart and go through some very practical examples. And if you're on the podcast, I'm going to try to be as specific as possible so that you can also understand me. Understand what I'm talking about. All right. This is the part where like I have to be tech savvy and I never get it, right? Like you would think I'd. Okay. Un momento. this is a body graph. If you've never seen a body graph, you can download this at jovianarchive.com, mybodygraph.com. Genetic Matrix is my personal favorite. Now, if you have never done anything with human design, there's obviously a lot. So this is not a beginner's workshop. This is me giving you examples of the power of looking for your shadows and your traumas in the body graph, and how you can do it for yourself and for others and for your clients, especially if you're a human design reader. This is going to take your business from ground zero to level 9, right? Like, we are fucking there. This will have the most incredible impact on your clients and yourself. And I'm going to prove it. Try me. Okay. So first thing that I start with is the definition. So I want to look at this person's definition in terms of whether they have no definition, i.e. they are a reflector, or they have, they're a simple split, which means that they have a few centers that are not connected. Like this person here is a split. So they're missing the 27, they're missing the 57, the 25, and the 52. What a simple split is, we have these centers that are defined, they're colored in, and some of them are connected to other centers. When all of your defined centers are connected to other defined centers, this is called a single definition. This means that you process information typically easily and effortlessly. You don't really need other people to complete you. Relationships are a little bit different. And then we have the single splits or the quadruple splits, which operate similarly. Similarly in different ways, but I'm getting ahead of myself. The simple split does not connect. The ego here does not connect to the G. The ego and the spleen are kind of in their own world. The ego, spleen, and root, as you can see, they're connected, but they don't connect to the other centers. So this person needs the bridge, we call this the bridge of 25, 27, 52, and 57. Now, they don't need it, right? Like, we are meant as a simple split, you're meant to have relationships with other people where you get to be wise around this energy, and you're going to naturally attract people who bridge your splits. But from the shadow aspect, what this tells me is that this person would do just about anything to feel the themes of these bridges, to feel unconditionally loved and supported, almost like a child, while also having this deep peace and stability and groundedness in who they are, their well-being, and their intuition. That is my super fast synthesis of this person's bridges. I'll repeat that. They would do just about anything to feel whole and complete, thinking they will feel whole and complete with unconditional love and support like a child, a deep sense of peace and groundedness in their well-being and their intuition. Now, they think that they need this from out there. The truth is that we all have these things, right? They think they need it from out there. So they're going to pull onto different relationships and different people and maybe different courses and different teachers and different coaches to try to get this. So what I know from this person's split is that they're going to spend their life searching for these elements in a gajillion different ways. This isn't wrong, this isn't bad, but the expectations that they may put on themselves or on others to receive these things, I will be whole when I have this, is not self-energy. So thinking they are broken, thinking they are wrong, thinking they are bad without this energy is shadow, right? This is the second piece of trauma. So trauma comes first, and then we create shadows, right? Then we create stories. Then we create these subconscious beliefs. And again, I teach you all of this inside the Human Design Shadow Training Program, and how to relate it to human design. So now that I know that this person has these splits, this is going to be their number one conditioning factor. If you're a simple split, your bridges are going to be your biggest conditioning elements in your chart. So now I kind of know where to start, right? So for me, without having any memory, this gave me a place to start. Okay, let me look at my bridges. Let me see what's here. How am I operating in the not self of these bridges? How am I making decisions thinking that I need this energy? So now I want to know why we have this, and how do we relax into who we are without the constant search and feelings of inadequacy. Because this person's a simple split, I know that relationships are going to be really, really important in their life. Because remember, we attract what activates us. So this person's going to be attracting people, places, and things to bridge their splits and define where they are undefined. So their secondary conditioning force for a simple split, is the undefined centers. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of synthesizing here, right? Because we don't live in a vacuum. I say this to people all the time. Yes, I look at very specific elements in the body graph, but the truth is we don't live in a vacuum. So what this means is that it does take an element of synthesizing the chart, of summarizing different elements, of knowing all of these different pieces so that you can put it together. And again, I teach you how to do this in a very simple way in the Human Design Shadow Training Program. Okay. So as you can see, or if you're on a podcast, you can't, we have an open solar plexus over here. We have an open ajna and an undefined crown. Undefined means that there are gates that are activated. They're just not active at this moment because the crown is undefined. And if we don't have any hanging gates, then we call that open. So this person has an open ajna and an open solar plexus. I swear I could write an entire book on the undefined solar plexus. I think it's something like 49% of the population has it. 49% of the population is fucked up because of this undefined solar plexus. But here are a few key notes from the not self of the undefined solar plexus or the open solar plexus. So undefined not self, right? Shadows, trust issues, intimacy issues, dishonesty. As a simple split with an undefined solar plexus, the dishonesty may come from this like deep, deep desire to make relationships work, to make themselves fit into these bridge energy, right? So if somebody comes to them with this energy of the 27, of I can take care of you, I can nourish you, I can support you, even if it's toxic energy, they might hold on to that because it makes them feel complete. It makes them feel whole. I'm going to make it work. Maybe this is a me problem. Maybe I have to fix me. Maybe I have to fix me, not this toxic energy over here, because this toxic energy bridges my split and it makes me feel complete. So we can see how we can come across a lot of shadows, a lot of traumas, a lot of toxicity just in these bridges and all of these different ways. So with an undefined solar plexus, I'm going to have this energy of people pleasing, of lying to you to try to make this work so that I don't have to feel the undefinedness of it all, right? The openness, the feelings of I am broken without this energy. Another element of the undefined solar plexus, living a secret life, sugarcoating, people pleasing, manipulation to people please. You have to remember, these are people that are empaths. So they amplify other people's energies. They amplify the feelings that don't belong to them. And then they can have these emotional outbursts about things that are not theirs to begin with. Right? So the depression of the 2838 here, amplified by this undefined solar plexus, could make them think that others' feelings and emotions are actually theirs. And they can actually be depressed over other people's feelings, other people's emotions, because they think it's theirs. Now we have the manipulation piece. We have the manipulation piece that comes from needing to have certainty because of this undefined ajna, this open ajna. I need to have a sense of certainty. So when I people please you through this open solar plexus, when I try to please you, I know how to do it. I've learned how to do it so that I can have certainty. I know how you're going to behave. I know how you're going to treat me back. So now I have certainty. So now I'm pulling on all of these elements of all of these different conditionings. And you can see how this person might get super fucked up in relationships with others. Now let's play with some of these elements. Let's play with the 2838, right? The channel of struggle. Thinking, feelings, and emotions. With that undefined mind, stay with me here, I promise. This bridges together what we were just talking about. The 2838, the undefined. Actually, hold on. Let's do the undefined solar plexus and the ajna first, because of what I was just saying. Okay, so thinking, feelings, and emotions. We have an undefined mind, which is the ajna and the crown. When people say undefined mind, that typically refers to the ajna and the crown together. This person is going to try to find certainty, make it make sense, right? Make it make sense. This is further amplified by the logical collective energy of this gate 9, which is unconscious, by the way. So they might not know that they try to make everything logical. The format energy, the energy between the sacral and the root, is going to fix your chart. If you're in the not self, it's going to fuck up the rest of the chart. So this is logical, collective energy. They want to make it make sense, and they want certainty. If they can make their feelings make logical sense, then they think they're going to have certainty, right? The mind will fuck you up 100% of the time. But the truth is that the undefined ajna will never, ever be certain. But we can see that the likelihood of this person trying to think their feelings instead of feeling them is high. Now, not only are they going to want to think their feelings, they're going to try to think other people's feelings and make sense of other people's feelings. How can I make other people's feelings fit into my perspective, who I think I am, into my world, into my life? And now I'm creating stories. Now I'm creating subconscious beliefs that were never mine to begin with. They came from my amplification of other people's feelings from this undefined solar plexus, but now they're going into the undefined mind using that gate 9 energy. Make it make sense, Lord. And they're trying to make sense of other people's feelings and making it fit into their life. The problem here, other than this, because that's a huge fucking problem, is that they don't know how to feel their feelings. Not only are most of us don't know how to feel our feelings, but with an undefined solar plexus, you don't have a benchmark for feeling feelings. You feel, right? You don't know how you're going to wake up that morning. When you have a defined solar plexus, you follow a wave, right? You're pretty familiar with your emotions. They might be up, 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 and down, 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 but you're pretty familiar with the things that you feel. When you're an undefined, you don't know. You could be walking down the street amplifying somebody's insanity, their grief, their loss, and all of a sudden you have this uncontrollable sadness. And the worst thing that you can do for someone in your life, or a client or a loved one with an undefined solar plexus, is make them make sense of it. Make them make sense of it. Well, why do you feel this way? I don't fucking know. I just do. So the key here is learning what is yours and what isn't yours. And if it is yours, if it is your feeling, and you can track it, right? It comes from something very real that occurred, undefined solar plexus, you're a human, you still have your own feelings, then we can track it, right? And then we can try to go back. We can try to go back into childhood and see what the trauma is or what the shadow is. And again, I teach you all of this in the Human Design Shadow Training Program. But all of this, right? Feeling our feelings, learning not to think our feelings, it's going to be a work in progress for this person, because Their strategy and authority, the 2034, that makes this person a pure man gen, connected, the sacral connected to the throat, is unconscious. It's completely unconscious. What this means is they don't know that this is who they are. They don't know that they're allowed to, that what they know in the moment is correct in the moment, that they are awake in this moment, that their feeling is in this moment, that they're allowed to feel and release. They don't know that because their 2034 is unconscious. And it's also their strategy and authority. So how does that affect the way that this person learns to respond to life? We'll get into that. Who they think they are based on their shadows might be that 2838. So this was unconscious we talked about. This is conscious. Who I think I am is personality. It's these black numbers. Their 2838, the channel of struggle, is conscious. So who they think they are is, my life is a depressing fucking struggle. It's a constant struggle. Why is everything so hard? While I suffer deeply with this 2838, I also have the 214 over here that can be like, I suffer deeply, but things do tend to work out for me. But like now I'm just confused, you know, like what the fuck? Yes, I suffer deeply. And like, this is who I am. I'm a depressed, melancholic struggle. But things do tend to work out. But I also don't know in this moment, like what is mine? What isn't mine? Like this person is confused in the not self, right? We have the undefined ajna, the undefined crown, the undefined solar plexus. 2838, who I think I am, is a depressed, struggling, melancholic person. So you can see how all these elements start to work together. Now I'm starting to get a really good perspective of who this person is in their not self, who they think they are in terms of their trauma, in terms of their trauma identity and their trauma responses. What moves them and what drives them to make their decisions when out of alignment is going to be that conscious moon in gate 51 over here. This is the gate of shock that comes out of the ego as one of the creative gates in the individual circuitry. This is the need to compete, to be first, essentially to initiate itself and others through courage, through the shit that it goes through the struggle. This is who it thinks I am, who it thinks it is, right? Who this person thinks they are. I struggle, I go through the shit, and I persevere. I am the strong one. I will take all the risks necessary. I have the courage, I have the power, and I will push, 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 push. I will be the first, and I will win, no matter what. It's courage to walk where no one else has walked before. I'll do it. I have a defined ego, right? I'll do it. 51. This drives me. I have this drive to push through my struggle, to push in the not self. This is in the not self, foolish risk taking. And think about it. This is the heart. The ego is the heart. And this person is a split definition. So we're talking relationships. What relationships do they throw themselves into knowing it's incorrect, not following strategy and authority, and end up with a broken heart? What situations do they foolishly, you know, like I think of the tarot card, the Fool. Do they jump off that cliff foolishly without following strategy and authority because they need to be first? Because they learn that they're the strong ones, that they can overcome anything if they initiate and push. It's pushing and pushing instead of waiting to respond. It's engaging in all the wrong things. Now, remember, this person also needs the 25 as the bridge to complete this channel. This is one of their bridges, the other side of the 51. 25 is the love of spirit. This person might feel like they can't trust themselves to make decisions based on who they are. And instead, they might look for other people or for spirit or for other people's intuition. Now, they also have the 57 as a bridge. So again, this is my intuition isn't good enough as it is. So I have more of a tendency to look out there to try to get this information from spirit, but make it make sense, right? We got this 9 over here. That's our format energy, but make it make sense. It's logical. So the trauma energy that this person might hold on to is that of distraction. So we want to go into trauma responses. How do we respond when trauma affects us? Taking risks without patience for strategy and authority. And we know that they have a tendency potentially to not feel their feelings, and that they may do whatever is necessary to bridge these splits. Plus, their strategy and authority is unconscious. So, what this leads me to believe is that this person's going to have a trauma response of flight and eventually freeze, because how much can you possibly disassociate and flee and run and escape, hey, line 3, and not feel your feelings without it having a deep effect on your mind and your body? Fun fact, line 1 feels things physically in their body. So this person's trauma identity might be, I do whatever is necessary to move ahead in life. I take risks and I lose and I struggle. I always fail, right? We also have a line 3 in here as their profile. I always fail. I always fucking struggle. Nothing is ever easy for me. This is who they think they are. But I won't stop, right? Because stopping might mean defeat. It may mean that someone else beat me. We have that competitive streak of the 51. I keep moving. So when we're trying to break this person's subconscious pattern of sabotage, I might ask them why or where they are holding on to this trauma identity or some kind of variation of it as a secondary gain. So this person might tell me, I've tried everything to heal my trauma, but I just can't do it. Well, what's the benefit of holding on to this trauma? So this person's benefit might be, I'm the strong one. If I let go of this trauma identity, if I shift out of the not self, then I won't be the strong one. I'll fall apart. I'll be vulnerable. Being vulnerable with an open solar plexus, blasphemy. That's scary as shit for an open solar plexus. So if they're holding on to this identity of, I will do whatever it fucking takes, I will move, I will push. No, I will not rest. No, I will not, work through my feelings, feel my shit, work on my traumas. I'm the strong one. I keep going. Because if I stop for 1 second, someone else might beat me. So I might fall and die. I might feel feelings I don't want to feel, and I don't know how to process because of that undefined solar plexus. So we want to look at that secondary gain also when we're helping people with their traumas. Now, I haven't even scratched the surface of this person's chart. I've only looked at a few elements and then synthesized the fuck out of it based on the entire chart, right? But we only really looked at a few elements: the split definition, undefined centers, and the moon. I still have so much shit to go through in this person's chart that will blow their mind to smithereens, which actually I've done because, spoiler alert, this is my chart. I considered using a celebrity chart or somebody else's chart for this, but I was like, this is like super personal, deep shit. If somebody wants to volunteer, I'm more than happy to do another one of these. But anyway, I've only scratched the surface of this chart. I've only looked at a few different elements. There's so much more, and there's different levels, right? So this might make sense for someone who's just starting out, who doesn't know where to look. But if somebody comes to me and they're like, I have a fear of being seen, I'm like, all right, we can look here, we can look here, and we can look here, and we can look here. I don't know who I am. All right, well, that's because you have all of this in your unconscious. That's because you have this struggle that's holding you back. Now, I can almost look at the chart and tell you a childhood experience, almost a specific experience that you may have had that caused these traumas and these shadows in your life and why you can't move past it. And it's through that we can actually learn to move past it. Without this information, without some of these specifics and some of this certainty that's in the chart, it's really hard to understand where you are and where you need to go and what's in between. You just know that you're not there yet. So this is my work. And this is what I teach you in the human design shadow training. I teach you how to do this for yourself deeply, and then for other people. And I give you all my cheat sheets. I give you everything I've created so that you can adapt this in through your own work, right? So yes, you can take my work and you can do shadow readings for people. Great, fabulous, love it, change lives. The impact is extraordinary. But what I would love to see people do, and this is what I've been creating in my program, is let me help you uncover all of your shadows, strip them away, strip away all the trauma, start healing, and then take this work and integrate it into your life through your creative genius. So we all have different creative geniuses, right? But I'm going to show you how to use shadow work and trauma work through the human design perspective to allow your creative genius to emerge, so that as a reader or coach, you can take this information, but filter it through your creative genius. So it takes on your perspective. So it's a little bit different, and it serves people a little bit different. This is how we adapt, right? Like, yes, human design is a closed mechanical system, but for fuck's sake, let's adapt some shit, right? Let's adapt, let's move forward. So that's what I hope to show you how to do. Now, the first step of the human design shadow training, which starts April 3rd, by the way, is to learn how to do this for yourself. So what I'm going to play for you is just like 5 minutes of an interview that I did with Megan, who was in the last round of the human design shadow training. If you want the entire interview, I'll drop a link to that also. But Megan is like a perfect example of what happens and how you change your life when you start doing this work. So the human design shadow training program, I turned it into 6 months. I turned into a 6-month program. First 3 months, we learned this information deeply. All of the human design nuances you could ever fucking want, all of it. We learn it in a ton of different ways, because a single definition, as a split, as a triple split, as a quad split, we all learn differently. So I give you this information in a lot of different ways: videos, written, Google Docs, quizzes, tests, sample readings, case studies. We do all of the different things so we can make sure that this is actually being integrated. And then I teach you, like I said, how to do it for yourself, and then how to do it for other people. And then we practice, and we practice, and we practice, because that's how we get better, through practice. We have case studies, we do live readings. I give you all of my cheat sheets for all of the gates, all of the channels, all of the centers, their trauma responses, their shadows, potential scenarios. I teach you how to synthesize the chart. And this is what I haven't seen a lot of people teach: how to synthesize the chart so that you can look at just one center here, this undefined solar plexus, and I can pull on elements of the entire chart and make it all make sense. This is what I do in my celebrity readings that everybody loves on Instagram, right? We make it all make sense. And this is what takes you from a mediocre, vague human design reader to fucking fantastic. And then you throw in the shadows and the traumas, and you tell people how to actually change their lives, because shadow work and trauma work is how we actually make changes in our lives, proven. Now you're creating impact. And now you're changing lives. So the shadow program starts April 3rd. But if you're listening to this, today is March 17th. I have a special through this weekend where I give you, I think it's $1,000 off the program, which is mind-blowing. So I will drop a link where you can also watch a free masterclass, and then you can sign up for the program. If you have questions, you can ask me. Now, before you hang up, before you press stop, listen to this 5 minutes with Megan, because it's phenomenal. All right. So I am here with Megan O'Donnell, who recently did my human design shadow training. Hi, Megan. How are
you?
Hi. Megan is incredible because of all of the work that she did to really get here. But what I really appreciate about you is how young you are and how
Yeah.
you're already putting the pedal to the metal or the metal to the pedal, whatever they say,
Yeah.
and just doing the fucking work to change your life at such a young age. How old are you
Mm.
again? 24.
24?
Oh my God. That's amazing. All right, so tell us
Yeah.
a little bit about yourself and about where you were when you first started the program.
So definitely going into the program, I was someone who very much struggled with their self-esteem, self-love, like for as long as I can remember, could not accept myself, would very much hide away, was just very much ashamed of who I was. Um, and I was in an unhappy relationship. I had very big issues with my father, and like now looking back at it, it all kind of relates to men.
Hmm.
And yeah, so when I dug into the work, I didn't even realize it was such a big issue, my how I viewed myself and how I felt about myself. But when we dug into the shadow work as we do in the course, I really realized my relationship with myself is horrendous, and it's probably the most important thing in like to have a good relationship with yourself. So um yeah, that was definitely the biggest um like the biggest result I got was
Yeah.
I can actually like before I look at myself, I was actually ashamed of what I saw.
Mm.
Like I would was and I would avoid like going places, or I was so afraid of what people thought of me.
Yeah.
And I made this whole story up in my head that, oh, this person thinks this about me and this about me, but it was really just myself making all these things up in my own head. And the shadow work like I did with yourself, like I like before I've tried all the work before, I tried all the things. I read loads of books, I
Yeah,
did
tell us how you
courses,
tried.
and nothing really spoke to me. But this work really just we got to the we got to the core. Like I always
Mhm.
was like it has to stem from something. Like from as young as I can remember, I struggled with this, and I was like, it has to stem from something. It needs to started somewhere.
Yeah.
And we got there. Like it was all my grandmother, her insecurities and her how she was just projecting everything onto me.
Work that Megan's talking about that we do in the human design shadow training program is a Google Doc where I ask you questions. Not everybody does it, but the people that do it, they fill out their questions. What do I
Mm,
hate about myself? What do I project onto others? A bunch of different shadow work questions. And then when they're done, they send it to me and I will write my notes. And I think we went back and forth like 5 or 6 times.
mm.
Like we really got into it. And then you thought you were done for a
I
second there. And I was like, we are just beginning.
I know. I remember that when I sent you, I know the shadow work, like when people join this, like it is the human design in the course and the shadow in the human design is so valuable in itself, like so much information. But the shadow work, like you need to do it. Like it is so incredible. And especially because you get your like Dana's eyes on it. And it's the back and forth where if when you're doing it by yourself, you just don't it's your own perspective, so you can't really get that deep. But when Dana looks at it, it's just you get down to a root and to a level you never really think you'd be able to get to.
Yeah.
And I remember when I sent you like the second last doc, and I was like, okay, we're finished here. And then I was like, we're done. But then we like got to some generational trauma and
Yes.
um the stuff around my dad. Like I had very bad like rejection issues, and my relationship with him, like we have a good relationship, but I always wanted a more deep emotional connection, and I felt very rejected by him. And we got down into it, and I now am in a place where I really accept my relationship with him, and I understand like why is the way he is and how his mother treated him, and it all stems there's like a huge acceptance you get from this work.
Yes. I hope you enjoyed that. Again, all the information on the Human Design Shadow Training Program is in the show notes or in the YouTube notes, wherever you're watching this. Let me know if you have questions. I hope to see you in the program. Bye bye.